Nikki Lauda is here. He is a three-time Formula One world champion. He is also a living legend in racing. In 1976, his rivalry with Britain's James Hunt fascinated fans around the world. Midway through the championship, Lauda survived a near-fatal accident. He was trapped in the burning car for almost a minute and returned to racing only 42 days later. His comeback has been called one of the most heroic acts in the history of sports. The story of that thrilling year in Formula One racing has now been turned into a film by Oscar-winning director Ron Howard. I am pleased to have Niki Lauda at this table for the first time. He is not only a great champion, but he is a man of great courage, and it's a pleasure to talk about racing and courage. Welcome.
Hello.
James Hunt said, the closer you are to death, the more alive you feel. Was that just James Hunt, or do you feel that?
No. It was the same for everybody, basically, because the risk in these days was that every year at least one of us got killed. And there have been 18 at the race, so you could work it out yourself when it's your turn. So it was a completely different challenge, very dangerous, and you have to stay alive. The fight really was to win races, go to the edge, but stay alive. And this was the challenge.
And most of those drivers got killed because the machine broke down or they went too close to the edge and over the edge?
It is very simple to explain both. Drivers' errors. I remember François Sever, a French driver, driving with Jackie Stewart, got killed right in front of me in Watkins Glen when he hit the curb and the car turned left and he went through the guardrail. So sometimes it's been fatigues on cars, sometimes driving errors.
The other thing he said was that you said you have to be quick. Quick sometimes is thought of as a word, a synonym for speed. But is it speed or is it something else, the definition of quick?
Definition of quick is to go fast around in circles with these racing cars. Because if you look at today, Vettel is the quickest because he's winning 4 world championships in a row.
And just won this weekend in Austin.
So to be quick means do the job right and be the best and win. This is Formula One language.
What does Vettel have?
Vettel is very talented, I would say 3 or 4 drivers. Hamilton, who is driving for Mercedes, Rosberg, Alonso, some young guys coming up, but they are really the top guys. So if you put them all in the same car, they will do the same lap times or qualifying times, like being quick. But if they are in different cars, then the cars help. If the Red Bull car is quicker than the others, then Vettel can win four championships in a row. And the others have to fight to catch up with the technical part of the car, make it quicker, make it last, and be as quick. Over the last 20 years, the cars and the circuits got so safe around with runoff areas that nobody can hit anything like I did in the past. So Formula One developed very much to, in a very nice, better way, being absolutely safer. So these Vettels of today and Rosbergs and Hamiltons, they don't have to worry about anymore what I had to worry about. Stay alive. So they can drive, they can have accidents, and nothing will happen. And this is the big difference.
Do you have any regrets about your racing career?
No.
None.
I would do everything again.
Everything.
I mean, the accident,
no,
for
of
sure.
course you would not have
prefer
that,
to keep my ear.
Yeah, that's right. Of course you
lose it there.
Yeah.
But generally speaking, no. I have no regrets.
Not from running the final race in 1976 or pulling out of it? No regrets there?
No regrets at all, because if I would not have had the accident, I might have had this little extra reserve you need to drive in these dreadful conditions of Fuji, where the circuit was flooded and it was impossible to race.
Couldn't see in front of you.
I couldn't see, but I was also the speaker of the drivers for safety. I was always looking after accident. I've been there myself when somebody got killed to understand what happened and what needs to be done to the circuit, move the guardrail or to the car if something falls off. And I was part of this all the time. So when this Fuji race, the last one, was on, the circuit was completely flooded. There was for 2 hours no race whatsoever.
Right.
And then Bernie Ecclestone, who runs the business, said it's the first time it's a worldwide television coverage. At 4 o'clock we have to start the race because at 6 it's dark. But the rain was the same. So I said to the clerk of the course, are you crazy?
Wait another day.
Yeah, do it on Monday or whatever. And certainly this was not the case. And then I said, I'm not stupid to do this.
Well, but you started and then you pulled out.
No, I had to start because of the prize money for Ferrari. This was a legal reason to do one lap, to pull out. But there have been 5 other drivers who did the same as I did.
Right.
They did not race, but James Hunt did. Fought his way to the end, finished third.
And that made him the world champion.
Just third, and by 1 point beat me in the championship.
And what did James Hunt teach you about him and what he did in that race?
Nothing really, because he did everything wrong you could do. You can see it in the movie. He was going out on the rain tires too long, and destroyed them because the rain stopped, the circuit got dry. Then he came in, I think, 7 laps before the end with the tires completely finished. So I would have been more clever.
Yes.
I would have driven not so long with the rain tires and make myself
You would have
easier.
come in earlier.
Correct. And he didn't do all that. But in the end, it was good enough.
Why do you think he didn't do it?
Because he was maybe not shown by his pit crew what to do, and he was crazy fighting his way through traffic and getting there. He just lost track. But it would have been easier for him. He would have come in earlier. But nevertheless, he did a perfect job. And there are very little friendships between racing drivers because there's only respect or no respect because we fight each other like crazy. But in the end, that James won in that particular year the championship. I was happy it was him and not somebody else if I couldn't do it.
Yeah, but he in fact said, I wish that we could have shared this and, it would have been nice because of the respect he had for you.
Yeah, I had the big accident.
Season.
I had the big accident. I lost nearly my life and 3 races. And then he beat me by 1 point because in the beginning of the season I was dominating everything, winning I think 6 races out of 8. So everything was going fine, and then the accident came and stopped me.
You remember nothing about the accident?
No, because it is very simple. It was explained by the doctors because I hit so hard, the helmet fell off, therefore I have all these burns.
Yeah.
And when you hit so hard, it just closes up your brain and you have no idea what happened. So I remember going out of the pits after a tire change in that race. Yeah. And then everything stops. Then I drove another 10 kilometers. Then I had my accident. I've seen it like you did in television because the little boy was standing there in the woods filming it. Otherwise, I would have had no idea. And the first thing I was back was when I was in a helicopter flown from one place to the other.
That's the first thing you remember?
Yeah. And I asked, I still see the guy sitting next to me with his bottle in a white dress and tried to look up to him and said, where are we going? He said 45 minutes, and I said, to Mannheim, and I said, how long? He said 45 minutes. And then from then on, I remember more or less.
How much pain?
The pain, honestly, I cannot tell you, because the pain, because of all this threat I had to die, I don't really remember. Sure, there was pain. I mean, you can imagine when you burn all your head off.
The whole right up here, just
correct. Is you have pain, but this was not for me the bad memory. The bad memory was that, for example, they talked to me, the doctors. I could listen to them because they didn't know that I was listening, and they said, if we give him oxygen, he's going to be dead. Yeah, and I thought this is not good news. And then they came up with this vacuum pump they had, and pumped out my lung, and they discussed this in front of me. And one alarming thing for me was that the nurse asked me, "Do you want a priest?"
Yeah.
And then nothing happened. And then I felt something on my shoulder, which happens a lot of times when they pass by you. And then I suddenly realized he already gave me the last rites, touching me here. He didn't talk to me. And I thought at least that if there's God, that he will say, Nikki, dear Nikki, we're all going to help you. And then I really got upset with this because of this not talking to me. Yeah. And then I said to myself, no, I'm not going to die. I'm going to fight and stay alive.
And then you were determined to get back on the track as fast as possible.
No, there was first a principal decision, do you want to come back or not? Yeah. Because after an accident like this, you have to worry about it. And then for me, it was pretty logical. I said, I always knew the risk I'm putting myself into. And then I said, I was lucky to stay alive, actually. Because before you raced in these days, you really have to think about it. Do you want to take the chance to kill yourself for being, let's say, a challenge for winning races, which is an interesting thing to do? Do you want to take the chance or not? And I said, yes, I want to take the chance. And then for a comeback, I said, do you still want to take the chance after the accident? I said, yes, because this was part of my driving in these dangerous cars to have an accident. Then I decided, yes, I want to do it. And then it is for me, or it was essential to do it as quick as you can. Because as longer you wait, as more worries you get, you lose all your power to do it. And this was for me important. Yes, I want to come back then in the earliest moment I can do it.
And when you got in the car, what did you feel?
It was very easy to explain because I went to Fiorano, which is the test circuit of Ferrari, you might know, and I tried the car there to see if the helmet hurts my ear, and here I have, the biggest burn was here, where they forgot to put some skin on. And driving, with all these movements with the gloves really hurt me. So I checked if this I can handle, and Fiorano, everything was fine. Discussed with Ferrari and said, I want to go back to Monza and do a comeback. And then he said to me there, Niki, it's better you wait another race.
This was Enzo.
Yeah, Enzo Ferrari, you wait another race because if we lose the championship, it doesn't look that bad. Then I really got upset again because I'm fighting back to get in his car to win races for him. And then he's telling me to stay home and wait another race because of the championship. And then I said, no, I'm not going to go to Monza, but because the reason he said to me was he already employed another driver, Reutemann, an Argentinian. It was Regazzoni and him, but they never thought I'm going to come back. And then I came to Monza on Thursday, normal. I had my doctor with me and everything to see if I can do everything right. And then the Italian authorities came and said, you have to do a medical check. Go to the hospital in Milan because we have to see if you're able to drive. So I said, this is not nice because I had certificates that I can. And then for 6 hours, they checked me up and down and forward and backwards. And then I really got upset because it was for me a lot of pressure to come back and do it. And I didn't need the extra aggravation. And therefore, I was worn out already Thursday night. Friday morning, official practice for the Italian Grand Prix starts. I go in the car, I put it in second gear, want to drive out of the pits and couldn't do it. I was so frightened that suddenly everything came over me, the accident and whatever, and I physically could not drive the car. So I drove a very slow lap back into the pits, frightened like hell. And then I said to myself, what the hell's going on now? Then I had to get out of the car because I couldn't get myself going, went back to the hotel and thought about it, what do I do wrong? And sleepless night, and in the morning I got up and said, I come back now for Saturday practice, which is the final practice for the race, and come here as if there is no Grand Prix. Just drive for myself, get the feel again on the car, don't watch the other times, people putting pressure on you, go quicker and this, and Regazzoni, Reutemann fighting me in the same car. Just do whatever you think is right for myself. So I went out, slow lap, slowly quicker, no pressure, didn't look at any other people times. Practice was over, I was quickest Ferrari and fourth on the grid, or fifth, I can't remember exactly. So then I said, the other guy's been not in the hospital. And then it slowly started to come back into the old speed and risk and whatever. It took me then another 2 or 3 races that I was more or less back up to.
And then you won.
And then I won again.
Okay, but here's the point. Your extraordinary wife, who we'll see in the film, and your wife in real life looks very much like the actress who plays your wife. She really does. Before, when you were married and before the accident, I mean, you had this attitude, I can't care about anything because all I care about is winning. And anything that makes me care more for that than winning is bad for me.
Yeah,
that's a terrible philosophy, isn't it?
Depends. If you want to be successful in racing, it was the right philosophy.
But after the fact, you had something to live for, your life and her, right?
I have to say, I was a very egocentric,
yes, you were,
let's say, animal.
Exactly.
To be friendly
to
myself.
You're being generous to yourself, not
correct.
as hard as you should be.
Focused But I tell you, the pressure we all had is we have to stay alive.
Yeah.
So the problem was that the risk was high. So whatever disturbs you in concentration to make a mistake, I try to get rid of. So when I came to the races, there was no wife, no children, no dogs, nothing. I was just simply concentrating. I lived a little bit the life of James.
Yes,
a little bit.
Yes.
I would say.
How would you describe that life?
James's life was that from 7 days, 5 days, he went out drinking, women, and really had the life he wanted.
He loved. Yeah.
He loved also because of the risk involved.
Yeah. In other words, he had that life because he lived in the moment, because he knew any moment he could die.
But the problem was he did it all through the week. I only did it Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday to be fit for the race and not distract myself. But this was the time it was. So when I had the accident, and I had to go through all the things you just mentioned, and Marlene at the time said to me, "You are a much better guy now," I have to say, because you are open, you are.
She was right.
Yeah, she was right. So I improved, let's say, 30% of my egocentric approach, but nevertheless, you had to continue in the same direction if you wanted to be successful.
Didn't you come back the next year and win the World Championship?
I won the championship again, then I retired for 2 years, came back again for another 4 years, and won the third championship with McLaren.
That was in the 80s, wasn't it?
Yeah.
84 or something, maybe? I forgot.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah. And why did you stop in the end?
I retired in the first time because I was interested to start an airline because I was a commercial pilot.
You learned to fly while you were...
Learned to fly while racing. Then I wanted to see a comeback, which was nice to try. After 2 years not running, I won Long Beach right the second race again, which was quite outstanding. Won another championship, and then I went to my business life of running airlines.
And were successful with 2 airlines.
Yeah.
Okay. And today?
Today I'm in charge of the Mercedes whole group of motorsport for the engines and the Formula One car.
Yeah. You're in charge of the Mercedes car.
Yeah, I'm the chairman of the board, and I was part of getting Hamilton into the teams away from McLaren, and I go to all the races to see that they're moving forward, and in a moment it's going very well.
All right, take a look at this, and we'll show some clips. This is showing you returning to the race in Monza. So when you came back there, what did it feel like? You were, as the announcer said, they worried whether you had it or whether you might be a danger to the other drivers.
I have to tell you one thing which is not shown in the movie. I was second row on the grid. I was fourth quickest, so right there where I should be.
Yeah.
And all the time before this race, there was the start of the race. There was the clerk of the course who went up the steps and had the flag going up and down, and then the race was started. And I had a special trick in these days. Whenever on Sunday I went to the clerk of the course and said, "Hello, I'm Nikki Lauda. How are you? Show me how you start the race." What do I mean? Now, how do you start the race? So if the guy went up and right down with the flag, I didn't have to wait, and I could go. If the guy went up and hold the flag, I said, "Ooh, I have to be careful not to do a jump start." So this race, I remember very well. I come to the grid, put it out of gear, and look for the guy. But unfortunately, it was stopped while I was in the hospital because they introduced the lamp start. And I didn't know. I did not know. Nobody told me. Ferrari forgot to tell me. Yeah. And there was the red and green light, which I saw too late. Then I was out of gear. Yeah. The green light came on. I had no gear, and everybody passed me.
Right.
So this race was particularly difficult for me because I had to work my way through traffic again. And therefore, it was shown like this.
Yeah. Now, is the film remarkably authentic in your judgment?
Yes, it is very much so, because Peter Morgan, who wrote the script, he's famous on this. And this is the way, basically, it all started. And he asked me questions in Vienna before he started the script. And then he always said to me, "It's going to be a Hollywood movie. You just tell me, but I am responsible for the outcome." And I have to say, he did it very accurate, what I told him. Not to make a Hollywood movie, which sometimes could be a little different. Right. He really stick to the facts of life.
Well, but he had a lot of, he had right there in this real story, a great story.
Correct.
He didn't have to make anything up.
No. But it's very accurate. I was amazed because I never saw the movie when it was built. He only showed me some short things, when he wrote something in his home. But when the movie was out, it was the first time I saw it.
So what's the status of Formula One today?
Status of Formula One today is still going up. Austin Grand Prix now in the States is going to be more known.
Austin, Texas.
But Formula One worldwide coverage is incredible today, and all the races are televised, so it's doing very good.
As you know, NASCAR has put certain restrictions on the speed of its cars.
Yeah.
Should Formula One do the same thing?
No, because Formula One is technically much more advanced than any kind of racing here. The cars have sensors that they have. Yeah. They're expensive cars. Here in America, they try to make it simple and easier. But Formula One, technically, it's unbelievable how far they've been ahead of the racing over here.
And every day and every season, they're trying to make the car faster and faster and faster.
Yes and no, because the rules and regulations restrict them sometimes, because when they go too quick, like tires or whatever, then the FIA, who is in charge of the whole sport, says we have to be careful now that we do not end up like in my time. Mm-hmm. Because the runoff areas and the safety put into circuits are made for certain speeds. So if they suddenly go 50 kilometers quicker, it's going to be bad again. So in the moment, it's well under control.
So if you're out on a country road in Europe, alone, you drive fast?
Yes. But the problem is radar everywhere, police everywhere. It's difficult to keep the license.
Just say I'm Niki Lauda. I was just having fun.
Well, sometimes I get away with it, but if they just, send you the pictures, then the license is gone.
You like the movie?
Yeah, I have to say the reaction of people is very important, because when I saw it the first time in the big cinemas in London, I was thinking I like to sit in the back and watch the people how they like it, but it seems to be very well received.
Let's talk a few minutes about speed on the track. This is an interview I did with Michael Schumacher for 60 Minutes back in, I don't know when. Take a look at this, because he's talking about the danger of Formula One. Here it is, Michael Schumacher.
Nobody of us wants to die. I mean, everybody wants to live. We don't do it for the thrill of the danger. We do it for the thrill of speed, sensation, being on the limit, but not really wanting to go off and have an accident.
Yeah.
You'd agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I still come back to this moment. You're going into a curve, all right, and you've got your vehicle within your own control. You know, what tells you how close you can go before you spin out?
So it is a good question, and it's simple to explain. In my times, there were guardrails everywhere.
Yeah.
So now you can do anything. There's nothing you can hit.
Right.
So, and there are corners where you go with 320 kilometers through a corner. And as closer you can get with the speed going into the corner, you end up at the exit either in the guardrail or away from the guardrail. Right. So you have to take a decision before entering the corner, how close you're going to go. And if you really want to go quick, you have to end up 10 centimeters off the guardrail.
Yeah.
If you're going slower, you're 1 meter away from the guardrail, but then your lap time is not right. And this is the challenge, to drive always on the limit and know exactly where the limit is, right the edge, not to hit, but go quicker than all the other guys. And this is the same problem of today, but the only difference is the danger is not there anymore.
And no matter how good you are, sometimes you're going to miscalculate and go into the
If you
rail.
go a little bit too quick, you kill yourself. And this was the problem at my time. So therefore, you really have to know what you're doing. It is easy to go slower into the corner, because then you don't have a risk, but then somebody will pass you. So the question really was to be right on the edge with your talent and your risk you want to take, because you have to take a lot of risk and chances to do a good lap time. And this was the challenge, to find the right way in the middle, to be quick enough to win and stay alive.
It's been a remarkable life for you. I mean, your parents, your family were successful in business. They didn't want you to be in a race car. They didn't want you to be a driver. They wanted you to be in business. They said to you, I guess early on, and this is in the film, we don't want you on the sports page. We want you on the business page.
My grandfather hated all this. He was my biggest enemy, because he was forcing me, or tried to force me, to stay in the family business, which I didn't like. My parents were different. They were a little easier and better to support, but they never really liked racing altogether. Sure, when I got more successful, they looked positive to the sport, but it was not really their lifestyle, let's put it this way.
And so if I look for the lesson of Niki Lauda's life, what would it be?
The lesson is, for me, simply learn it in sport. Don't think about gray areas. I hate gray areas, either in business or sport or whatever, black and white. Make up your mind, and if something goes wrong in your business or in your racing or in your sport, first find the fault in yourself. Don't blame somebody else, because the most easy thing, and this was James in the beginning, we did Formula 3 together, and he said, I have the excuse book. I said, what the hell is the excuse book? Oh, you can look up, if a race has failed, it's the shock absorber, it's the gearbox, it's the engine. This is what you need in sport. I said, are you crazy? With the excuse book, you get nowhere. Find the problem really, and most of the time it's the human being itself. It also is in other businesses. Look in yourself first, analyze exactly what you did right or wrong, and then get your people or your racing under control with your own new ideas to make it better.
It's black and white.
This for me, everything is black and white. I hate gray areas.
It's a pleasure to meet you, Niki. Really. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Niki Lauda. The film is called Rush, directed by Ron Howard.